Welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast. This is a show where we aim to educate, inspire and entertain through real life stories and interviews from people in the Scottish property community.
As always, thanks for listening and give us a follow on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember to join us at our monthly networking events on the first Wednesday of every month. Tickets are available on our website. So without further ado, we'll just cut straight into this week's podcast.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Scottish Property Podcast. We are delighted to be joined by Barry Gray of BLG Investments. Thanks very much for joining us.
No probs. Great to be here.
Headline. Let me chuck a headline out to you guys. So you're going to listen to this podcast because Barry has taken serious action in his property journey, and I thought it was 15 properties in 15 months. It's apparently 17 properties in 17 months. So Barry, before we get into that, let's take us back to a wee bit of background on yourself. Tell us a lot about yourself and what your background was before you got started and what made you get started in property.
All right. So before property, I've been working in the pharmaceutical industry as a project and program manager for various big companies, the likes of GSK, AstraZeneca. Don't know if we're allowed to name drop them on here, but anyway.
Might get a sponsor.
So I worked for a few big companies. Ended up working as a contractor down in London for a few years before COVID. Then COVID hits. Everyone gets sent home. I end up sitting at home with, a decent London day rate, not having to pay 35 grand a year in travel. So I was able to save up a bit of money during COVID because I worked all the way through. I didn't have any time off whatsoever. So the projects I was dealing with were mostly kind of COVID related, to be honest, COVID distribution, etc. Nothing interesting enough for property. So did all that all the way through COVID, built up a nice pot of cash. Obviously, as I was sitting at home, I was playing stock market as well. So did all right there by hedging the market and buying stuff when it was down. And then it all came back up again for a little while before it went back down again. So I got out at the right time and made some cash there. So that gave me a deposit to play around with. I had £80,000, well, nearer 100 to play around with. To actually get started.
What was the interest that sparked you to go for property then?
I've been looking at property for years. Analysis paralysis. I started playing around with spreadsheets and it was just never the right time. Then suddenly I had this 80 grand in my pocket and I thought, what the hell? I'll start looking around. It went from nothing.
How did you get past that point then, the analysis paralysis? Because a lot of people have got that. Probably myself after 15 years of investing still get that. So like what did it take to push you past that point of never the right time to actually start dipping your toe in? Or actually you didn't dip your toe in, you went head first.
Something came to mind there that was kind of dirty, so I won't bother saying it.
No, keep it clean. You're going to tip me share that story.
No, it has nothing to do with the story. It just went balls deep, straight from the start. So I don't know what actually sort of triggered. I was poking around one day, came across a portfolio by accident. There's a well-known company who deal in portfolios in Scotland, and I reached out to the guy to see if there's any portfolios that he had that weren't actually listed, and it just happened he had a spreadsheet portfolio that had come in quite recently, based up in Montrose. The wife's from Montrose, her in-laws were there, so it just seemed a nice coincidence that the Montrose portfolio popped up. So at that point, I had to try and figure out how to afford it and how to actually work out the figures.
So the first purchase was a portfolio?
Yes.
So that's pretty uncommon, isn't it?
I was going to say, you went from paralysis by analysis to, I'm going to buy a portfolio.
Yeah, so that was in, what was it? That was back in March of 21. Right. I started looking at that. It took until November 21 to actually secure that because I had to set up a new limited company to do it. So obviously buying a portfolio wasn't hard enough, so I set up a new limited company to buy it as well. The limited company obviously had no background, no track record, which made it harder for the banks. So the banks started looking into me, my track record. So my other company came under scrutiny, my consulting business, to make sure that that business could actually afford to pay for all the properties, or the money I was paying out of that company could afford to pay for the properties. So I had to show that if basically the shit hit the fan, that I would be able to cover all the bills of all the tenants left. So it took us from March to November, so 8 months to faff around to actually
and to get a lender and the financing in place. How did all that pan out then in terms of who did you get to fund that?
Used a broker. That ended up through Shawbrook.
Right.
They were pretty much the only one that would touch me at that point. The rate was absolutely terrible at the time, 3.49%. I would kill for that right now.
Take a 30-year fix at any time.
Yeah. So that was a 5-year fixed at 3.49, and I thought that was terrible at the time. But I'd kill for that.
Just shows you, doesn't it, how times have changed?
Yeah,
very, very quickly. What was the appraisal process like then? So going from poking around the property to appraising, how many was it in the first portfolio purchase?
The portfolio started off as 11, and then as time came by, we realised that I couldn't actually afford 11, so it went down to 6. And because I'd been talking to the right people, I heard about multiple dwellings relief, so we kept it 6. We had to keep it 6 or more to actually qualify for the multiple dwellings relief.
Are you putting in 25%? Or,
yep,
yeah,
so 75% loan to value.
Yeah,
stuck in the 25% because of multiple dwellings relief. The stamp duty came down from 19 grand down to about 988 quid,
right. Nice.
Which is
there's a top tip for listeners straight away. So
well, that's the stamp duty paid on one flat.
Yeah.
And what was did you get a decent discount on it? Did you negotiate a decent discount on the purchase?
The discount was supposed to be about 20% to start with, so it was worth 400 according to the vendor to start with. And I was going to pay 320 for it, but when the valuation came round, it was downvalued to 320. So they only wanted to give 10%. Was it even 10%? I ended up 305 for it in the end. So maybe the market will go up at some point, but I think Aberdeen's keeping Montrose down at the moment. So once Aberdeen starts rising, Montrose will start going up with it.
Do you think about that when you were buying these, like your longer term strategy? You know, you hear about people saying I'm investing for cash flow or I'm investing for long term capital growth. What was going through your mind at that point, or were you just eager to get going?
That one was really just, I got carried away and excited, and it was like, oh, I'm buying a portfolio. Just don't worry about numbers. So it was just a case of get it at all costs.
So you're quite new to that point. So now knowing what you know now, would you look back at that purchase and say it was still a good buy, or?
If I hadn't done it, I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't have bought more. I wouldn't have had the track record for my investors to actually see that I could do what I was saying I was going to do.
This was what we asked next, actually. If that was the first purchase and you've wiped out your cash.
So
cash is gone. Now what's the plan?
Well, just before I secured that one, I had an investor who came to me. He'd seen what I was doing. He knows me very well. And he'd basically said, I've got 250 grand. Do you want to spend it? For lack of a better.
That's the dream, isn't it? That's the dream. So is that through like just your circle of friends, like just through?
Yes.
Obviously, the guy already trusts you.
Yeah, so I know him very well.
Yeah.
But you started to have the conversations and tell people what you were doing, and this is what I just done the workshop at the weekend. You've got the guys that are just a bit apprehensive about putting themselves out on social media and telling people. And I'm like, if you don't fucking tell no one's going to know what you're doing. No one's going to reach out and offer you opportunities like that. So people can say, "Oh, it was lucky that you landed," but if you didn't have the conversations and preempt that conversation, that would never have came to fruition. Yeah.
So I knew the investor really well, and he only knew that I was doing property by going around talking to people and basically letting a close circle of people know what I was doing, because I didn't have a clue at that point what I was doing. It was just a case of looking on the internet, thinking things looked like a good idea.
A little bit, making it sound like you know what you're doing, or just admitting that you don't know what you're doing. Or
the posturing isn't really me. I don't really care.
Put out there
the stuff on the internet. I've looked around at a lot of people who are putting out content on the internet, and a lot of it's half-assed, and they're getting likes and views for it, and it's just not me. I want to go and do all this value add stuff, but I felt that I had to actually get a track record and actually know what I was talking about before I actually
put that stuff out.
Do an assault on social media, like come to things like this. Like you guys wouldn't have seen me if I hadn't started posting on social media.
Absolutely, that's how
I actually started singing about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I couldn't start singing about what I'm doing until I actually had an idea that I knew what I was doing.
Confidence in your ability to know what you're doing. Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I'm not one of these who's just going to read something off the internet and just rewrite it and then send it out again.
Yeah, I'll spout that shit because I think I know what I'm doing. Yeah, no, I agree with that. So portfolio is 6 is bought. You've got this now investor for 250 grand. What was the plan of attack? What was the big, right, am I going to do with this money?
So basically, as soon as I knew I was getting the money, I started looking around the market, trying to find stuff. I'd been on a training course with a well-known training company in Scotland, based around Falkirk. So I'd been on a training course with them. They obviously have a massive sourcing business, so everyone will know who I'm talking about now. And I got a property sourced through them up in Aberdeen. Pretty good deal on the surface of it, but I've cocked that one up over the time, so we can get into that in a bit more detail. So I bought that one. I bought an auction purchase as well, and I bought another one on the open market.
Was the idea just a cash buy them with the cash bought from the investor and then refinance at after renovation?
The plan was to cash buy them. The further plan wasn't in place at that point. I didn't have a clue. Just, I've got more money, buy more property.
So let's talk about the Aberdeen one then.
Later.
what was the issue with the Aberdeen one? How come that one went tits up?
It's probably mostly my fault, to be honest. At the point I bought that, I was still in full-time employment through the contracting. In April 22, I decided I was going to go full-time property. So I thought, okay, I've got this Aberdeen house. I'll do a lot of the work myself. I'll bring in trades where I need to, so for the electrics, the gas, etc., plasterers, I'll get bits done. But there was a lot of damp in the property. We didn't actually see any of the damp issues until we'd actually stripped back the wallpaper. A lot of the wallpaper was plastic backed. It used kitchen and bathroom wallpaper around the whole house and then covered it over with normal wallpaper. So the damp wasn't really coming through. So until we stripped that back, we didn't see the extent of the damp. It sold 1890s building, sold lath and plaster inside, and basically the lath and plaster was degrading, and it was creating a bridge across from the external wall into the internal wall in various locations.
Right. So what was the solution with that? Did you have to strip all the lath and plaster back off and treat the damp first? Or?
Now I would say yes, it's to strip it all off. But what I did there was cut out sections and repaired. I did patch repairs all over the place on all the external walls. Where I saw damp, took it off, patch repaired. And then, as anyone who's done it will know, when you patch repair something, it just moves.
Somewhere else.
So basically...
Is there a product called damp patch repair you can go and buy from B&Q? Is there a tub of it that you can just go and
There'd be some idiot that would buy it, probably me. But no, I've learned from that one. Basically, I got to the refinance point with that. It took me, what was it? About 11 months to actually get to the point of refinancing that one. And then the valuation guy came out, looked at the property, stuck a damp meter in the wall. He's like, "That's wet."
Right.
And then it became subject to the mortgage to actually get all the damps repaired.
Right.
So then I had to call in a specialist because they wouldn't accept me just ripping the walls off myself.
Would have been good damp repair stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so I had to basically bring in a specialist company so that they would guarantee it, which cost me another 12 grand.
How much capital was tied up in this project at the time that you were hoping to get out?
I spent about 40 grand on that one.
Right.
Is that including? No, that's the refurb or the.
Yeah, the whole refurb I spent 40
And then the purchase, obviously, that cash was in there as well.
Well, I was supposed to be walking away with about 25, 30 grand in my pocket out of that one.
After refinancing.
After refinancing. Well, I'll give you the numbers. So it was on the market for 110 at the time. We bought it for 79. We were supposed to get 140 for it. So I was supposed to do, a 20 grand refurb on it and then clear all the money out and walk away with a little bit in my pocket. But it didn't actually work that way. We ended up at a valuation of 155, which is good. It was higher than expected. Right. But because I spent 40 grand, we basically left about 10 grand or so in it. So
some would argue that's still all right, though.
Yeah.
Maybe not for Aberdeen.
It's all right, but that wasn't the plan. The plan was to walk away with a stack of cash, but if I just made a tit of it, I would have walked away.
So your cash
just shows you kind of buying rights that does pay dividends even when shit goes wrong.
So your cash reserves are depleting there. So is that that's your investor money tied in?
Yep.
And there's 11 months.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But there's ways and means to get that back.
Absolutely. And you were... So that was the next one you were talking about, another couple of year purchase at the same time?
Yep, so at the same time I bought an auction purchase. That one basically walked away. That was all money out after 6 months.
Where was that one?
That was Montrose.
Montrose again, yeah.
Yep. So that's fully tenanted. So by the time we'd had 6 months rent and actually done the refinance, it was cleared itself off. So that's infinite.
How did you find the auction process? Obviously, still kind of early days starting out. Did that go smooth for you in terms of, obviously, they take the deposit off you? You know, there's the legal pack. You're supposed to get your solicitor to read.
I was cashed up at that point. It wasn't a problem.
You were just had you viewed the property?
Nope.
Did you view the Aberdeen property?
Nope.
I love this guy. Risk alert.
Did I view any of the portfolio properties? Nope. Did I see any photos of the portfolio properties? Nope. I talked to the letting agent who was looking after them though. So
listen, they say it's all about action, isn't it? But definitely take the action.
I'm a bomb scare.
It's brilliant.
So I didn't even go into the auction. I waited for the property to fail 3 times at auction.
Right.
I just looked at it, I thought that's good value, but it's a little bit too high. So I'll just wait. If I lose it, I'm not that bothered. If it keeps going and failing at auction, nobody's interested, so I'll go and make an offer. So I made an offer outside the auction before the next one happened and got about 10 grand off the guide price.
Which auction company is that? Future or Auction House or something?
That was Property Auction Scotland, was it?
Aye. Auction House Scotland?
Auction House Scotland, yeah.
Aye.
By this point, did you start to get a reputation or build up a network in Montrose? Because that was a portfolio plus this individual.
Yeah, so that's 7 in Montrose,
Yeah.
one in Aberdeen at that point. And then the other one that I bought with the cash was another one in Montrose. So
did that come off market or?
That was on market, been sitting there for about 18 months, was part of probate. So nobody wanted it. It was obviously old people had been in there and died. So it had gone into the estate. So nobody was interested because a lot of work was required. The EPC was low, although it's a solid built building. It's built out of concrete. But that one, I was supposed to leave, I think about 7 or 8 grand in that. I was expecting to leave in it, but ended up at 18 because ex-council means less lenders. And the lender that did want to lend on it gave a 65% loan to value instead of 75. So I've got more equity tied up in the property, but it's damaged.
Are you finding that difficult? Because I've heard from people that invest in Aberdeen before, i.e. sitting next to me here. Obviously, your choice of lenders and stuff like that are pretty slim.
Yep.
Is that still an issue? Is it becoming even more of an issue? Or
I've not had an issue getting lenders.
Just a bit. You pay a bit more.
I just go through brokers. I use a broker. The same broker's handled 16 of my properties so far.
Right.
The same solicitors handled 17 of the properties so far. So, yeah, I'm not having a problem getting deals. The brokers tend to pass the best 2 or 3. It's not worth their while giving a whole list of sort of potential deals if they're not going to work out for me. So I don't know what else is out there in the market. I just know that I keep getting deals now.
You've got a good broker and he's getting you the finance. That's what matters. And
exactly.
You're,
No, good. And so, what we're at now? We're at 9 properties. 9.
Yeah.
So
I just wanted to ask, sorry, before you move on, a question about Montrose, is it, did you say?
Yep.
What's the kind of demand for the rental properties there? Is it good? Like, I don't know that area at all.
Yeah, there's decent demand in Montrose from rental. The market itself is stagnant. You're caught between a buoyant Dundee and a depressed Aberdeen. But it's I don't think it's going to go up in price until Aberdeen moves. It's not going to go down either. It's just going to stay roughly where it is. I'm not looking at capital growth at this point.
Right. What sort of properties are they, like houses or flats or mixture?
Flats. They're all flats.
Flats.
Yeah. So
what sort of tenant profile? People working class?
I've got a mix, mostly
benefits?
working class. I've got some benefits tenants in there. They can provide their own benefits in ways in that you can get grants and stuff for benefit tenants. Eco 4 grants are available for certain classes of tenants. So it's sometimes beneficial to have a universal credit tenant.
What would you say your kind of average, what is it, 2-bed flats and stuff like that? What would you say your average rent?
2 beds and 1 beds.
What's the kind of average rent for a 2-bed flat?
2 bed, about 525, 530. But then the properties I'm buying are getting 40 grand, 60 grand properties. So some of the later ones that I've bought, I've paid 50 grand, refinanced for 90, and then got 525 a month out of it. So I've pretty much covered all the buying costs.
Obviously, you're not really looking at much capital growth when you're talking about figures at that end of the market. So if you got your 3.6% fixed.
Yep.
When does that come to an end?
That's 5 years. So plenty of time yet.
Right.
So I've still got 4 years in that.
Right, okay. So
plenty of time to ride that one out. What's and as part of your kind of process for scaling up the portfolio, the properties managed at the back end?
Yeah, they're all fully managed by a letting agent that's local in Montrose. So if he's got all the Montrose ones and the Aberdeen ones.
How's that helped your relationship build up to? Has the letting agent been bringing you other opportunities?
Yes, but it all depends on whether I can take advantage of them at the time, whether I've got cash. I haven't actually taken them up on any of them just because I can't get the right discount that I want, or the deal just doesn't work. So I'm not scared of just walking away. Yeah. If the numbers don't stack, it's not worth the headache, basically.
Are you looking at a certain cash flow criteria from each individual property?
Not necessarily. I'm looking more just, is it cash flowing? Can it take the stress of a sort of mortgage rate rise? Am I ever likely to be negative? If it's always going to be positive and there's always going to be like 50 to 100 pounds in it at least, even if we go up another couple of percent, then that's kind of my criteria. Yeah. It's just stress test more than actual.
Are you still looking to get obviously as much of that? You're still going down the BRRR route to try and get as much out as possible. So that's still your strategy.
Mostly. Most recent one isn't BRRR. That's just literally a buy and stick a tenant in it. Right. So yeah, we can get to that one.
Yeah. I'm liking this story. I'm liking the journey of because it's so fresh, because it's only in the last 15 or 17 months, depending on how far we get on these.
Yeah, it's just riding by the seat of my pants, to be honest.
It's good. I'm sure lots of listeners will take huge value from it and thinking, fucking hell. Like,
this is brilliant. This is fair.
Well, I've basically done a lot in sort of 18 months that some people been investing 10 years plus haven't done what I've done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've just pushed myself, learned something new. Excellent. I know not something new. I know some other way to buy a property and work on a property. I'll go use that to get it then.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at number-ish 9. So we're about now. What's the next?
So what I've done is I got a bit excitable. Basically decided, okay, I don't have enough on my plate. I've got 3 refurbs going on. Well, 2 refurbs going on at the same time. I need more to do. Why don't I just use those properties I bought for cash as collateral while I'm still working on them? So I went to Together Money and basically got 135 grand as a bridge from those 3 properties and used that to buy another couple of refurbs.
And where were these ones about?
Montrose. Just for a change. One of which I'm still working on. Right. That's another story.
So at this point, he's not only buying properties blind, he's now buying them with bridging finance as well.
Secured against assets that he's not finished.
Oh, you've got to actually view them now, have you?
Yeah, I've viewed those ones, and I've viewed number 9 as well.
Brilliant.
That's good.
It's just the rest I haven't viewed.
So you're putting a wee bit more,
I'm getting more experience,
bit more care and attention at the due diligence process. That's good to hear.
So yeah, the first one was a purchase for 45k. Spent about 18 on it. Got 90k refinance. That's good. Pretty much all money out of that one.
I love it, yeah.
The other one I'm still going on. That needs a roof replacement. I've had various contractors messing me about.
Right.
Won't go into too much detail on here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What stage are you at the gate? That one at the moment, still waiting on the roof, or?
The roof is almost complete. That needs, because the roof's not been done, that's not allowed us to fit one of the windows. That window happens to be a bathroom window. That bathroom window is now holding up the fitting of the bathroom. That makes it uninhabitable. That means the valuation can't go ahead. Yeah. And that means I'm missing out on mortgage deals. And that means I'm going to have to pay another bloody survey fee because that's going to be taken away from me again.
How long have you been working on that one for?
That one, got that April last year.
That must be quite a lesson learned. I mean, obviously we couldn't predict the amount of interest rates going up and down, but if you'd fixed a mortgage in June last year, what would you have got? 3.4%, but now you're at 2.
Yeah, there is a lesson to be learned there, but I didn't actually start working on the problematic one until probably November.
Right. So delaying by having a lot on.
Well, I took on too much, almost made myself broke. I had to fire in money from other companies, etc. My consulting business had to pay for bits and pieces in the property business. I had to liquidate a ton of savings, ton of shares, fire that into the business. Yes.
And what's your wife saying? What's your wife saying at this point? Does she know about this?
He's still married.
Yeah, she's still married. She thinks I'm a little bit flighty and I'm all over the place looking at deals. I'm not flighty. I just like to keep an eye on what's going on. Yeah. I've always got kind of a pipeline of stuff. As soon as I find more money, then I've got another 2 or 3 deals that I can go and put money into. I don't see it as flighty. I see that as being prepared.
Yeah.
Is she on board with the whole thing, or does she just let you get on with it? Or
she's on board with it. She likes to try and help when she can.
Yeah.
She wants to get more involved. I'm not sure what that'll actually look like once she actually gets involved. She's obviously a director of the company, but she's got her own full-time job at the moment.
Yeah. Do you have kids? Do you have family as well?
Oh yeah, I've got 2 girls.
Right.
So teenagers.
That's why it has no hair.
Yeah. Well, the hair went when I got married. I've still got hair in the wedding pictures.
Right. Get yourself over to Turkey. Work for him.
Yeah. Give him my guy's number.
I think I'd look weird with hair now.
Yeah. Especially when people have known you just without hair. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Most of my adult life's been spent without hair. It's just what happens.
Fucking managed us, do you? Sorry, Mrs. Gray.
Right, moving on property.
So what we're at now? Number... Well, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
What's the last few?
You've had a bit of a wobble there, though.
Yeah.
You've really had to kind of think, well, where am I getting this? You know, you did say yourself, you're almost broke. So you've managed to do a bit of creative juggling, rejuggle things about.
Been a bit clusterfucky for a while. Yeah. But I managed to get various refinances were coming through at the point where I was starting to run out of cash. So everything's just kind of aligned, like I almost planned it.
Do you not think that's the way of the world, though? When you'll find the money when you need the money, you'll find the solution when you need the solution. If you take the action and go for it, you could have sat on the fence and said, well, I'm not going to buy any more until I finish these properties, which means you wouldn't have got the same growth you would have got now. Yeah. So it's just like, okay, I need that refinance through, I need it through. It has been flying by the seat of the pants a lot, and it has been exciting. But I can do without that. No, you can't. You're going to be bored. Yeah, well, there's a certain buzz to the buying process, isn't there? Yeah. It's just kind of got another one. Yes. Until you get asshole builders or roof repairs or people who hold me up. Yeah. I'm generally quite well planned in doing things. I've kind of got an idea of what I'm doing when I'm doing it, but when other people get involved, it just screws me up. Yeah. So is that the biggest pain point of growth then, is the right team of I've found a decent team of people. A plasterer, I've got a plumber, I've got a joiner, Sparky. So I've worked with these guys a number of times. I've got a guy who comes and clears out the houses with a van, so he's decent price. And he's going to strip out a kitchen on my next one and pull plasterboard off the walls as well. So starting to get that team. Yeah, so I've got a team of guys who will go between Montrose and Aberdeen from around that area. So they tend to work together as well. So they've got each other's numbers and they tend to link up when they need to do stuff. So it kind of takes you out the project management side of it as well, which is handy. Yeah, no, that's good. It does. Frees me up to go back and actually earn money. Or look at more deals. Yeah. Well, part of the way I've been able to do this and why I was able to kind of give up work in April last year is because of COVID, because I was able to store money in the limited company. Can't take it out because that wouldn't be tax efficient. So I may as well drip feed it over a period of a year as wages. So that's how I managed to take the year off and actually go full time in property. Yeah. But I just feel like a total fraud in doing full time property because I'm at my desk all day, every day, and it's like, what am I doing? I'm institutionalised. I'm just sitting there staring at the screen. As a full-time property investor, then what's your day-to-day look like then? Sitting staring at a screen. So finding deals. A lot of it was poking around deals, phoning people, just chatting, networking, going to various property networking events. And you've pretty much focused still on those locations, or are you looking to widen your net now a wee bit? Or? I'll go anywhere, to be honest. Not so keen on the West Coast, just because it's a bit further away. I know it a bit less. But I know we struggled getting you through here today, didn't we? I know, it's challenging getting from Edinburgh to Wishaw. That A71 is terrible. But yeah, I'll pretty much invest anywhere, to be honest. We're even looking at property abroad. But that's just a little pipe dream for the future. So going from 13 to 17 now, whatever, just to pick out the kind of highlights, has that been much of the same, or they all had their own? Yeah, almost went broke again at Christmas just passed.
Again, is that you make mistakes? What can the listeners learn from your mistakes?
That was just me taking on too much. I had 4 refurbs on at the same time. I was spunking probably about 17 grand a month in refurbs. And that's just eating away the cash. I was down to my last 400 quid.
Wow. That's at a time where material prices are on the rise, labour prices are on the rise.
So I was down to my last 400 quid. I tried to pay my plasterer. I owed my plasterer, I think it was about 11 or 1200 quid. Tried to pay him on the Amex, but he couldn't accept the Amex because I was going to get points for it.
You must have a few air miles by now.
Nobody bloody accepts the damn thing. I'm trying to buy kitchens and stuff at Magnet, and they won't accept it. But yeah, so I ended up down pretty much my last 400 quid. Yes, we've got savings. It's a little bit dramatic.
Yeah.
I would have had to liquidate my wife's savings. She wouldn't have been happy with that.
No. Caused a bit of an issue.
Yeah, but again, refinance came in just at the right time.
Yeah. But the refinance comes in a few days because you know how desperate it is to get the refinance through, because you know you're doing your last 400 quid. So that did that get the rock up your arse to then push the refinance through?
Well, the reason we got to our last 400 quid was because of that extra bit of work we had to do in Aberdeen, that extra 12 grand. So everything was covered. I don't pull guys into work on the properties unless I know I can pay them. But because I had that extra bit of work in Aberdeen, the 12 grand, and they didn't bloody accept Amex either, that had to come out of the current account. And that almost
no wonder he's got no hair. It's like he's gone broke 2 or 3 times in the last 2 years.
But you've come out at the end of it.
It's kind of managed.
Yeah.
We've always had extra cash sitting there just in case. Well, not cash, but stuff we could liquidate if we had to. We're not going into it completely blind. I've been a contractor for years. Could have had the Aston Martin in the driveway, but chose to squirrel it away. We've always been very careful with having different funds. It's my wife's fault. I was shit with money before I met her, but we've always had sort of money going away in standing order every month for Christmas, car expenses, holidays. Kids have been getting money every month for the last few years, which they don't know about. So there's going to be a nice little pot for them at some point.
Brilliant.
Once I pay it back.
Who's your latest prime minister? The kids' accounts.
Hey kids, get yourself onto the Scottish Property Podcast. You can see where all your savings have gone.
The kids, one of my daughter's ISAs took a hit.
You do what you need to do, and so the last couple of deals then, they went a bit smoother.
I'm getting slightly better. So we're getting the money's starting to flow a bit easier. So the cash flow in the business itself is flowing a little bit easier, but at the moment I've got 3 bridges, so there's literally no cash flow. So once I took my first bridge, that got me addicted to taking bridges, so I've just been using bridges for everything. And so
the 3 bridges on the go at the moment, what are these projects for?
So one bridge is 2 properties that I got in Montrose, strangely enough. So got 2 properties, it's an upper flat 3-bed, lower flat 2-bed, and we got it for 87 grand. They were valued at 140. We're doing nothing to them. They need a bit of work. So going on my previous flats, which are literally 50 yards away, we can get them up to about 200 for the pair. So we should be able to basically pull 30 or 40 grand out of that and walk away unencumbered. Not unencumbered.
All money out.
Yeah, all money out. Wrong words. So that one should be good. But because the ground floor tenant's universal credit, we can get all his insulation done on Eco 4. Right. We'll have to do the upstairs one ourselves because there's not a tenant in it. But hey,
can you get another good tip? Can you get a date? That kind of, I suppose. I'm trying to say
we could try and play the system, get a universal credit tenant in upstairs. Then we'd have to go through the process. Probably a couple of months of actually getting surveys and getting everything in place. Plus, it's not really in the spirit of the rules, is it?
So that's what we chatted about in this week's podcast. It's out with Stephen Easton, who's talking about that. You know, there are grants out there.
Yep.
So you're experiencing that yourself with the benefits tenants for insulation, did you say?
Yeah, insulation. So we'll get underfloor for downstairs. We'll get the wall insulation as well. They're not doing central heating and stuff anymore. That was Eco3.
Is that completely paid for or percentage? Or?
Yeah, they'll cover the costs of that.
Oh, brilliant.
So that's...
And see with lending, with the exiting onto the buy-to-let lenders, do they ever ask questions for... well, I've got benefit tenants as well. I've never had the issue, but you hear about some people saying that, some lenders won't lend on universal credit or benefits tenants. Have you ever had that issue?
I've not had the issue. Problem. I guess it maybe depends which lenders you're using. I'm only using commercial lenders, no high street banks.
Right.
So they all know that I'm working through a limited company. I've got various tenants. The tenants that I have could be from any walk of life. I've got one guy who's potentially going into this flat with the roof that needs finished. He is on PIP, so he's basically, I believe he's got ADHD, but he's independent living allowance.
It used to be like disability benefits, I think. And they've changed.
So he's got a severe ADHD, but he can live on his own with assistance. So it pays slightly less than market rate, but hey ho, I'm helping someone.
So you're obviously a big fan of the bridging then.
Oh yeah, love the bridging.
So that's something that...
It's nice and flexible.
And it's the key to successful bridging, because I've never done it myself. Obviously talking to you guys, is the key to that just speed, get in and out as quick as you can?
Yeah, but I'm not that good at that. I'm not good at getting in and out quickly. Because these two, the 87 grand pair in Montrose, I've had that bridge since... When did I get that? I've probably had the bridge a good 6 months. So I'm probably... No, actually,
and
it was January.
How much are you paying a month for that?
No idea. I know it's covered, but...
1%.
Well, the guy downstairs, the universal credit tenant, he's paying about 75% of the bridge.
That's covering some of the costs.
Yeah, so then the portfolio pays for the rest. Right. So it's not too bad. I'm not that cavalier. I do have a good idea of what I'm paying.
At least they're getting paid.
Yeah, so I know my bridges are all paid. It's all covered. But that one, where was I going with that? I can't remember. You interrupted me, Nick.
Sorry, I always interrupt because questions just pop into my head just as I'm chatting. But sorry, I put you out of flow.
Bridging, you love bridging.
Yeah, bridging. So I've used bridging quite a lot. I've got a couple of bridges at the moment. So Stonehaven is another one.
That's a good deal. Stonehaven one, wasn't it? I looked at that one as well.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
So this is you changing away from the lower end 40 grand flats in the Montrose area to Stonehaven, which is, I suppose, a coastal town in Aberdeen.
Well, Stonehaven was an auction property as well, through Prime Property Auctions. And that one was, a guide price of...
140?
No, it was a guide price of about 95-ish.
Right. A home report of 140.
Home report 140, yeah. And I got it for 85, I got it, I think. So I've had to spend a little bit of money on that. From the video fly past that they did through the property, I never reviewed it again. You could see there was some damp they were trying to just keep out of shot. So I knew there was damp there. The home report said there was damp, but the extent of it was unknown. So basically the weekend I got the keys, I went up and basically just got the crowbar out, ripped the wall off, just to see what was under there, and then did some social media stuff, showing drips coming in. So yeah, if you want to see that, go look at my Instagram.
Yeah, obviously you've got your branding there, BLG Property. Go and have a look, because I've been following your videos, are really good actually. So
quite random.
At what point did you decide to start engaging with social media and leveling up social media to try and utilize it? You're being very open, honest, and you said that right at the start. You were open and honest with your investors. At what point did you feel comfortable enough to say, right, fuck, I'm going to start putting myself out there on social media?
I'm still not comfortable coming in here today. I'm scared shitless. Yes. So putting the stuff out, I was kind of saw other people doing it. And I was just, I'll just give it a go. So I started just with the usual captions and stuff like that, where people didn't actually see me. And then I think it was actually coming on to Sam's mastermind, where he was like, "You need to get your face out there, Barry." And I was like, "Fuck off, Sam.
No one wants to see my fucking face."
Yeah. So nobody wants to see that. But so I started just getting myself in front of the camera and talking about bits and pieces, and still not comfortable doing it. It's still all on the fly. There's no planning behind it. It's just like, I've seen that.
Let's do it.
That looks shit.
And what is the
People
point?
love that.
What is the point in doing the social media for you?
The point for me, there's an element of helping people. Property, you see all these people doing these lovely before and after pictures. You don't see the middle bit where people have actually discovered all this damp, and there's things are falling apart, and there's an extra 10 grand to spend here and there.
Where you have to raid your kids' piggy bank.
Yeah.
To pay the builders.
Yeah. So people don't see that bit. I want to be kind of open and honest and show kind of warts and all. For my flat where the roof is still not done properly, after I did the Aberdeen property and realised the damp issues, that informed my later progress. So when I went to the one with the dodgy roof, I actually stripped back the walls. It was everything off. So stripped back right to brick, all the plaster out, lath and plaster gone. I hate lath and plaster. Where I see it, I'll take it out. And we only discovered that the roof was actually leaking because I actually had the lath and plaster off. It was actually running down the inside of the brick wall. But because it was the first floor maisonette, it wasn't stopping in my flat. So it wasn't damp. It was going all the way downstairs. So I still need to actually talk to the guy downstairs about paying for some of that. Because that's cost me 16 grand for that roof.
It's a pricey roof repair.
Yes. But
showcasing that and putting that out there and tell people the kind of the pain points and the...
Yeah, but thankfully I was able to absorb that. I've got cash sitting there just in case, and I've got other avenues of getting cash if I need it, if I'm really stuck. There's things I can liquidate, etc. Yeah. But that's just through years of not spending money and financial planning.
Yeah.
But
does it make you feel nervous that you're putting all your eggs into like everything, your nest eggs you've had sitting away in different accounts is all getting liquidated just to go into this property portfolio? Are you comfortable in what you're doing?
Comfortable now.
Yeah.
I was cacking myself in December when I was down to my last 400 quid. That was sleepless nights. Trying to push the refinance to come through and actually get that money in the bank.
Yeah.
Does
it give you lessons learned to try and make them a bit smoother? You're using good brokers anyway. You're still using Go Financial Services, aren't you?
It's mostly been Kessler up to now, but Ewan as well.
Right.
They've both got their specialities where they can both help me.
Yeah. So important having that good that team of brokers. Like, you put more pressure on them to make sure they speed up the process, but then I suppose it then comes back to the surveyor coming to do the valuation to make sure that things finished as well.
By the time I was needing speed on that, when it was the solicitors that were involved, so actually making sure the solicitors are talking to each other. I used Michelle at Archibald Sharp in Glasgow. She's done all 17 of my deals, and she is excellent to deal with, to be honest. She's always chasing me rather than me chasing her.
That's good. It's a good thing.
I contacted her yesterday to try and push my current Aberdeen one through, and she was like, I've already talked to them today, and that was like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Lovely.
I use Archibald Sharp as well. You have done for years too.
Yes.
We should, all these name plugs, we should really be getting
sponsored.
We should be getting kickbacks.
But part of this business is actually finding a good team and getting a good team by networking with other people, talking to them, finding out who they use.
Yeah,
and you're very helpful as well. Like you're one of the most vocal folk on our group, and this as well stuff, and it shows you're actually willing to help out people and mention the solicitors and mention the brokers you use and the experience you've had, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You feel you need to do that as giving back to the people that have helped you out as well?
To a certain extent, but I've been in the fortunate position of being able to absorb some of the issues that have come my way. And a lot of the people who are starting out in some of these networking groups that I'm involved in, it would destroy them. So through my good financial planning, I can potentially help other people not make the same mistakes as me. That's why I like doing the warts and all stuff. It's just so that I can actually, maybe give back to a certain extent.
Check for damp. Check the roof repair.
Exactly. Plus,
view the property.
I think that's really an important point to make, to listeners as well, is that you have taken some big risks there as well.
I've taken big risks. I've taken big hits as well.
It's not for everybody, this, you know what I mean? So although I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this guy's brilliant and I admire you for what you've done, it's not for everybody, this.
Yeah, your strategy is not for the 24-year-old that's not had a career behind them, that's starting out with not much back in, rather than a private investor finance or something. You've got you've got that bit of a safety net.
I've been very cavalier, and if I was doing it again, maybe I would take less risks. But knowing what I know now, I've got so much value I can pass on to other people.
Let me ask you about the 250 grand that you initially raised from your mate. How's that sitting? Is he quite happy just to get is it a fixed return?
Yeah, he's getting a fixed return for that. Again, I would do that differently because I'm giving him monthly returns, and that screwed me over for the last year and a half,
right?
Because
Easing
the cash flow was eaten away. But it is what it is. So we're looking at...
That'll be better now going forward as the portfolio is now getting established and the rents are now, the properties are now getting completely refinanced and the rents coming in. Is that not a good thing going forward?
Yeah. Well, I talked to him probably about 6 or 8 weeks ago about that loan. And then he offered me another 100, but that's another story.
You must be doing something right then.
Yeah. So he's happy with the money coming in.
Yeah.
Obviously, once it comes around for renewal in November, the interest rate's going to go up because he's basing it against what he can get in his investment portfolio. So we'll probably be going up to 5 or 6%. So
going up to 5 or 6%. Bloody hell.
It's a great investor.
Well, that money was back when we were down at
0.1
or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's worked out very well. 250 grand for 600 quid a month isn't that bad.
We were having a chat on that recently about private investor finance as well. Would you be putting the private finance rate up with the new interest rates? But I suppose it depends on what they can get in a normalizer.
Yeah.
I never really checked them. So if they can get a...
Well, you can get 5% in a savings bank in a savings account. Obviously, you'll get taxed on that.
But then if you're investing through a private investing company, there's plenty of big ones, I won't mention any, but they will take a massive fee off you. So that comes off of you. Even if you're making 7% on your investment, they'll maybe take 2 or 3% off every month.
Funds, investing funds and stocks and shares. And
I was kind of sharing my point on it last night. I think it was on the call saying that I think that if you've got prime investors like that are on 3 or 4 or 5%, like a decent rate, it's cheaper borrowing than a freaking mortgage now. But if they're getting a monthly interest paid them every month, they may get comfortable with that extra income. So if they're getting squeezed and living costs are going up and they're going, but I'm getting an extra £600 a month from Barry from putting that cash in there, I might just get that used to them. Just keep, I'm hoping, or are you hoping that they're going to just keep rolling that investment over and continue? Keep the money, just keep my monthly interest.
Yeah, well, I keep in touch. So as I mentioned previously, when I was talking about the 250 grand, I've now had another 100,000 offered from the same investor on different terms. It's on a higher interest rate, but I bet he's hand off for that one.
And when do you get to the point in this portfolio building that you can actually start to enjoy all the stress that you've been through in the 2-3 years, when you start to reap the rewards and enjoy things and enjoy the cash flow coming in and stuff? I mean, you're full time.
Don't know if reaping rewards and enjoyment are the same thing. I enjoy the thrill of the chase.
Yeah. So that is your
I'm enjoying
enjoyment.
the stress.
So maybe I need to reframe the question then. At what point, financially, can you kind of sit back and pay back your kids' eyes and all the rest of it and sit
all
back?
Right, that will be fine with that. That's easy enough to do.
Already at the point you're at?
Not yet, but
when the refinance
I've got refinances coming up. So the Aberdeen one that I've bought, once I refinance that'll pull money out of there. That can go into my Dalkeith one because I've got 100 grand to pay for that. Because I've got to buy that for, what's that, 80 grand purchase?
Yeah.
That one's actually a development bridge, so you won't even know what that is probably. So again, I'm pushing myself on the next one.
Yeah.
What's the end goal then?
Get bigger and better.
Yeah. Just keep growing the portfolio. That's it. Portfolio.
Keep growing the portfolio. Start bringing in bigger deals. I've got a couple of bigger things that I'm looking at, kind of on the back burner. As I've talked to you about, £1 million GDV deal that I'm looking at on the back burner.
All in buy to let. All in buy to let.
Well, that one would be taking a kind of care home, nursing home, etc., and converting it into number of flats. So
for rental.
Yeah. Either that or holiday lets. Don't know yet. I might swing into holiday lets. The Stonehaven one is ripe for holiday let, but I'd rather pull the cash back out of that. So as I alluded to earlier, there are ways to get your investor cash back if you've left it in other properties. So flipping properties is one way to do that, and that there's a lump of cash comes back to you on top of what you already paid. So that'll go back into the investor pot. It's the same with the Dalkeith one that I'm working on as well. So that one is basically taking a derelict building and converting it into a 4-bed flat just at the back of Dalkeith High Street.
Right.
So that should clear me about 60 grand by the time I've paid everything.
Flip it.
Yeah, I'm flipping.
Flip it, top up the cash pot.
Yeah.
And keep going again.
Yeah. Well, I still need to prove to myself that I can get the investor cash back. I've done it over and over again. I've had money coming back.
Yeah, but it's never sits there for long
I want to
enough.
see all the money in the account. Just for my own personal gratification, it's just like,
Oh,
yes, you've been 2 years, you've still got the money.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, so it'll come. I've calculated all, and presuming there's no massive issues, it's a relatively new roof on Dalkeith, so we're not going to have roof issues there. So I should have all the money back in the account for the end of the quarter 3. Because I was talking to you last night about quarter 3. I'm looking for something nice and big, a nice marquee signing of actually a portfolio or something a bit bigger that I can actually crow about and actually show people that, yes, I do have a clue what I'm doing.
You must be, I was going to say, you started off with the portfolios, but you went for kind of single units and transfers. You must be itching for that portfolio now, going, I started that way. I feel like I went back. So, yeah, portfolio to end the year.
Possibly. Depends if the money works.
Yeah.
If the money doesn't work and the portfolios are fine, then I don't do it. I'll do something else.
I keep hearing you guys talk about portfolios, but it's not as if there's like millions of portfolios out there.
Fucking loads of them.
Where? Aberdeen?
Hoovering them up. Where's one this week?
Some greedy bastards are picking up a 39 property portfolio somewhere.
I
know, wouldn't you love that?
I know, it'd be good.
Imagine having 22 grand a month to spend on a bridge.
That scares me. Anyway, we'll end on that note, Barry. It's been absolutely brilliant having you in. We wish you all the success, and thanks for being so honest and sharing, going into a lot of detail, because you didn't have to go into that level of detail, but I think it's important.
Oh, now you tell me.
It's really
Please give us watching.
It's important for the listeners to understand, that you've got through all that, those hard times.
Yeah, because we will put a nice clickbait title on this, saying 17 properties in 17 months with Barry. Great, but you're going to have to now look at it and tell, oh shit, I actually almost went broke a few times. So cheers for being so honest.
Your wife's not left you. You've got no hair, but your wife's still there, so that's a good sign. And
the main reason she is still there is because I've been honest with her. She knows warts and all.
100%. Yeah. That's a good lesson as well for all our listeners. So.
Yeah. And where can people reach out to you if they want to reach out for a chat, speak to you?
So I've got a website set up at www.blg-property.co.uk, Instagram, BLG Property Investments, TikTok, BLG Property, all over the place.
Super.
I've did a presentation for the Mastermind group, which I'll host on the website as well. So you can find that there if you want a copy.
Right. Brilliant.
And just come and find me. I'll talk to anyone.
Brian, thanks very much.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a great day.